Switching to the NBA, the New York Knicks left with a 127-98 win over the Milwaukee Bucks. After the Knicks led the first quarter by 6, they ran out to a 20-point lead into halftime. Led by 27 points from Jalen Brunson and 24 points from OG Anunoby, the Knicks kept their 20-point lead through 3 quarters and cruised to the victory. And finally, in college basketball, the 21st ranked Miami of Ohio Redhawks survived 69-67 against the Western Michigan Broncos. The two sides went back and forth for most of the first half, with Western Michigan carrying a 30-26 lead into halftime. After trailing by 8 in early parts of the second half, the Redhawks broke that deficit, then fell back down 9 with 6.5 minutes left. Once again, they fought through that deficit and, following a back and forth, had possession with 12 seconds left and the game tied at 65.
Miami with an opportunity for the win to get to 29-0. Chris Perry working on Ryan. It's going to be Trey Perry. The left hand. It goes for Trey Perry. And the foul. And Trey Perry wins it for the Redhawks.
Audio courtesy of the Mid-American Conference on Facebook. Trey Perry's layup helps the Redhawks survive as they finally don't score 70 or more points. However, they do stay undefeated on the season. When it comes to sports coverage, no one covers it better than our team on the Best Damn Sports Report. Listen live at the top of the hour on 107.7 The Bronx, online at 1077thebronx.com, and on the Bronx free Apple, Google Play, and TuneIn apps. The Best Damn Sports Report is where fresh local meets casual cool on Route 130 in Bordentown. Live from Rider University, I'm Joshua Uhas.
And it's out of here! And 107.7 The Bronx wins again with the Best Damn Sports Report. To never miss a hit like that one, find it all at 1077thebronx.com/Best Damn Sports Report. And as the Bronx rounds home plate, we're getting back to the biggest hits and best variety on 107.7 The Bronx.
1077 The Bronx and 1077thebronx.com, winner of 3 2026 Intercollegiate Broadcasting Systems Media Awards, including for Best On-Air Pledge Drive for our first ever Radiothon, Best Giveaway for Wake Up Riders Morning Bagel Run and Jewelry Spree, and Best Station Poster by Jake Goebel for Scream Screen. This is High Stakes, and this is Nolan McCaffrey. I am very excited to have joined you on this last day of February, 9:07. And,
Put your hand like that.
got it.
No. Just a 5.
Just a 5?
Yep. Oh, crap, it's following me.
Okay.
There we go.
Got it. Listen.
Hopefully it doesn't try to, if it
Yeah.
tracks me.
No, it's all good. Oh, jeez. Okay. After, oh, jeez. I was looking at that. I'm looking at the monitor right now, and it's like it's showing like the side of my head, and I don't even know what's going. I don't. Listen, this is the second time I'm doing this. Last time, I believe 2 weeks ago, didn't really work out too well. So hopefully the sound is on, which I think it is, and the camera's doing well. So listen. Second time going. By the end of the semester, we should have all the different, great things. Like, I don't even know. I don't even know what I'm talking about right now. I don't even know. Let's get Jesus Christ. Let's get into some NBA. As not much going on in the sports world right now. Football was over, 2-3 weeks ago, whenever it was. At the end of the day, everyone says, baseball season, it starts at the beginning of spring training. No, it really doesn't. It starts on opening day. I'm a Met fan, so I'm keeping in touch with, some of the highlights that are going on, with especially the younger players like Carson Bench and AJ Ewing, seeing how they can develop. But all in all, it really doesn't even matter. That's why I'm kind of excited for this WBC starting up in about a week or I think the first game's March 5th, if I'm not mistaken. So excited to see that. And as we get into March, and then obviously at the end of the month, baseball starts, and then we got NBA, NHL playoffs, and NFL draft. We have the combine, if anybody cares, this week. So, again, not much going on, but we do what we can do. Let's get into some NBA now, as the tonight got a nice game with the Lakers and Warriors. I mean, listen, the Lakers right now are in free fall. They lost 3 straight games, including a really bad one to the Suns, I believe, on Thursday. Listen, I understand that a lot of people right now are pinning it on Luka that, he's a flawed player. And I'm a big Luka fan. I was always a big Luka fan in Dallas, but even I will say that he's a very flawed player. I mean, you look at his defensive deficiencies, and he's a guy that, I know he averages a lot of assists a game, but I don't know if he totally makes a lot of players better around him. But, at the end of the day, he's averaging 32, 8, and 9. There's not much that you can really ask more of with him, especially on the offensive end. The problem with the Lakers is they have a center who's not really a center, even though he's 7 feet tall. He doesn't play like a center. He's not, everyone says like his motor isn't high, and it really isn't. I mean, last game he got benched against the Suns. This is the problem with Ayton really his whole career. The fact that, he has some talent. He was the former #1 pick in the draft, but he's not, when you really need him to, come out, play aggressively, he's just not there. At the end of the day, he's just not there. And that's one of the problems. You have a 41-year-old LeBron James. I mean, he's a defensive liability. When you have Luka, who might be one of the worst defenders in the league, you can't have another defensive liability. And also you got Austin Reeves, who's, nothing to write home about defensively. Right now they're actually defeating the Warriors right now. I mean, talk about, and Steve Kerr said this a couple weeks ago, that they're a fading dynasty. They're right. I mean, for what the Warriors were like 10 years ago, to see them now, I mean, it's kind of sad to see, even though I hated the Warriors back in the day when, they had Durant and, Thompson and Curry, Green, all those guys. But right now, Lakers defeating the Warriors 41-20. And, again, I think the Lakers, because they have Luka, and you look at Luka's postseason performances throughout his whole entire career, he's a guy that elevates under pressure. They have a puncher's chance against a team like a Houston, even a team like Denver. I'm not sold on Denver right now. They lost last night to the Thunder in overtime. I'm not sold on Denver right now. Even though the Lakers historically have not been able to beat the Nuggets, I think that with Luka, there's a chance there. But again, they're not built well enough to make a deep playoff run, especially in a Western Conference that's loaded. I mean, even though I think Denver and Houston are flawed, they are really good teams with great players. And obviously OKC defending champs. And right now, the way San Antonio is playing, if I had to guess right now on February 28th, I would say that San Antonio is my pick to win the NBA championship. You look at their guard play from Stephon Castle, UConn alum, just have to throw that in there. De'Aaron Fox, and I was a guy that, hey, maybe trade De'Aaron Fox for a nice wing player because you already have Castle. I was wrong because De'Aaron Fox right now is playing tremendously. And you got Harper, the rookie, and then obviously you have Wembanyama, who right now, he's had back-to-back, less than 20-point performances. His offensive game is still a little raw. He relies on his outside shot a lot. A lot of people want him to get inside. I mean, he's 7 foot, 5 inches tall. So I get it, but that's not really his game. But one thing that he does that I think is, he might be, when it's all said and done in his career, the greatest defensive player in the history of the NBA. He impacts so many shots, and not even just the block shots. You watch a Spurs game, any time a player drives into the paint, even if Wembanyama's there, you can't get they don't even try to shoot it because they know they're going to get blocked. His wingspan, his height, and even just his defensive instincts make him, listen, he probably won't win Defensive Player of the Year because of the 65-game rule, which I think is a stupid rule, to be honest with you. I mean, you're telling me if he plays 63 games or 64 games, he doesn't deserve Defensive Player of the Year? I mean, let's be honest here. And it's not his fault. He got injured. He got injured for a couple weeks. That's why he missed so many games. But he is by far the best defensive player in the league today. He might be one of the best defensive players ever. And that's a big reason why San Antonio is my pick right now to win the NBA championship. I know they're a young team and they don't have any playoff success that they can rely on. I get it, but you saw a young team in Oklahoma City last year win it all. They were the youngest team ever to win the NBA championship. I don't think that's as big of an issue as it has been in later or in prior years. So, at the end of the day, going back to the Lakers, they have a chance because of Luka, and he could drop 45, 50 points at any given moment in a playoff series. But I didn't even mention Minnesota as well, who's made it to back-to-back conference finals. But they're just not built to win an NBA championship or even to go far in a loaded Western Conference. I look at the team that Luka had 2 years ago in Dallas when they made it to the NBA Finals. That's the perfect team to put around Luka. You have another ball handler that can score and take some of the offensive load off him in Kyrie Irving. You got defenders like PJ Washington. And then you got the Twin Towers in Derek Lively Jr. and Daniel Gafford, which is an alley-oop threat. I mean, the amount of alley-oops, I forgot the exact number, but through the Western Conference playoffs, the Mavs that year set an NBA record for the most alley-oop dunks in a single postseason in the Western Conference. Why is that? Because Luka can penetrate the paint. He is a good passer when he chooses to be, and the defense collapses on Luka. And here is Lively. Here's Gafford, slamming it home. And that was the perfect team to put around Luka. You look at this Laker team; they don't have really great shooters. I mean, Jake LaRavia is okay, but he's not he's their premier 3-point weapon. He's not. If Jake LaRavia is your 3-point shooter, your trusted 3-point shooter, you're not winning an NBA championship. Let's call it what it is. Again, LeBron, he's past his prime. He can still score. He can still put up some good stats, but his impact isn't there. I like Reeves. I think you could put Reeves in that Kyrie Irving role. But at the end of the day, it's not good enough. And if you're the Lakers, you got new ownership this year, how do you keep Rob Pelinka? I mean, he's been the Lakers GM, and he's been somewhat successful, did win an NBA championship 6 years ago. But again, he just did not put together a good enough team around Luka, and right now you're seeing the effects of it. They're just not good enough, especially when they play against good teams. I mean, the Warriors, Warriors are a good team. I know they're I think 8th in the Western Conference, but they're not any world beaters. But you look at when they play against the Celtics, they lose. The Thunder, they lost. The Spurs, they got blown out by 30 points. I mean, I get some of these games Luka has been injured. I get it, but they're just not good enough to go on a postseason run. And I think that's just it's a shame because Luka's right now, he's 26 years old, about to be 27. Let's just call it what it is. This is his prime years, and everyone I remember 5-6 years ago, it really started then, where every year it's like, oh, Luka's going to win the MVP this year. He's going to win the MVP this year. I mean, I think out of the last 6 years, he's been the preseason favorite to win the NBA MVP at least 3 times. I mean, honestly, and he never does. And part of that is him. He gets injured. He's not in shape. He doesn't play defense. But part of that is teams aren't good enough to be in that top 3 seeds that you need to win an MVP. That's kind of what it is this year. I mean, the Lakers, listen, they're not a bad team. They're right now, I believe, 6th in the Western Conference at 34-24. They're not a bad team. But they're not, for a team that is trying to build around a superstar player that's in the middle of his prime, it's just not good enough. It's just not. And as we go over to the Eastern Conference, I mean, listen, the Western Conference right now, I truly believe that whoever wins the NBA championship is going to come out of the Western Conference, whether that is San Antonio or Oklahoma City, or to a lesser extent, the Denver Nuggets, Rockets, Timberwolves. I don't sleep on them either. In the East, I mean, listen, the Pistons, I'm a big fan of the Pistons. I think they need another wing scorer. You have Cunningham, you have some other players, but I think they're lacking that, and they're a younger team. I wouldn't be surprised if they make it to the NBA Finals, because I don't think the East is that good. I mean, the Celtics are interesting because, Brown right now is playing like an MVP candidate. And, if you get Tatum coming back sooner around the beginning of the playoffs, now you're looking at it and it's like, okay, there's a chance here that if you could get at least 75% of what Tatum could possibly be, hey, they could go on a run here because you know what a duo of Brown and Tatum can do when healthy. But the big question is Tatum gonna be healthy enough to make that postseason run? That remains to be seen. The Knicks, listen, obviously coming from the tri-state area, I have a lot of Knicks friends, and listen, they're a good team, but I've said this on multiple occasions. There's two issues with the Knicks. There's two of them. And now there might be a third one kind of formulating right now with Mike Brown. Because I don't know. I wasn't totally against firing Thibodeau, but Mike Brown this year has left a little bit to be desired. I have to say. But going back to the two things that they have that are big issues with the Knicks. Number one is when you have a closing lineup that includes Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns are the two defensive liabilities that you cannot make up for. I know Anunoby and Bridges are good, and Josh Hart is a capable defender. But those two guys, Brunson and Towns, that's going to be tough late in games in the playoffs to keep those guys on the floor defensively. And then I say this, and I like Jalen Brunson. I do. But I just want to ask the audience this. Is Jalen Brunson good enough to win an NBA championship as your best player? This isn't a Shaq Kobe scenario where you have a guy in Kobe and a guy in Shaq at the same level. This isn't even a guy like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, a duo of that, where they're at the same levels, like superstar or maybe just a tick below. Jalen Brunson is the, no doubt, best player on the Knicks. Is that good enough to win an NBA championship? Is Jalen Brunson good enough to be your lead guy of an NBA champion? I have my doubts about that. He's 6'1". How many, let's be honest, in NBA history, how many guys 6'1" or 6 feet tall win an NBA championship as the best player on the team? Not many. I mean, you could go back to Isaiah Thomas, but he had a crew of guys around him. You could look at Curry, but he's the greatest shooter of all time. That's not Brunson. Brunson is really a ball dominant. Really, his game is mid range. I just struggle with that. I got to be honest with you. I struggle with the idea that, hey, he could be the best player on a champion. You look at who wins the championships in this league. It's guys like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who won an MVP and a Finals MVP. Guys like Jokic, guys like Curry, Durant, LeBron, Giannis, prime Kawhi Leonard. And go back all many years, Jordan, Larry Bird, Magic, Hakeem Olajuwon, Tim Duncan, Shai, Kobe. I could go on and on and on. Is Jalen Brunson on that class? Because that's what he's gonna have to be. He's gonna have to produce like those all-time legends for the Knicks to win a championship. Because we know about Karl Anthony Towns. He can have his really good games. But listen, in a 7-game series, you're gonna see, if a series goes 7 games, 2 or 3 of those games, Karl Anthony Towns is gonna play terrifically. 30 points, gonna splash around 6 or 7 threes. But you also know you're going to count in that, hey, a couple of those games, he's going to give you 8 points and 6 rebounds. Because that's what he's done all season. And that's really what he's done all of his career. So again, you look at the NBA landscape right now. I believe the Spurs are the best team right now. I'm not sleeping on the Thunder either. Pistons, they're young, but I think they need one more year to truly get to that level. And then obviously in the East you have the Cavaliers, but again, wake me up when James Harden does anything in the postseason. Wake me up when that happens. Let's just call it what it is. I mean, I like some of the pieces the Cavs have, but I mean, you're relying on James Harden to play 2 months of high level playoff basketball. That's a big ask. Just ask the 76ers. Just ask the Houston Rockets. Just ask the Brooklyn Nets. Just ask the Los Angeles Clippers. And just ask the Oklahoma City Thunder way back in the day. So, we'll listen. I like I like the Cavs, but again, you're relying on James Harden. That's a big ask. But all in all, though, listen, we're getting to the point now in the NBA season where it's past Super Bowl, it's past the All-Star weekend, if anybody cares about that. And you start to look at the standings, and you start to see some high profile games like last night, Denver, Oklahoma City, and the Lakers, Warriors tomorrow. Then you have a full slate of games to on Sunday. But again, it's all gonna come down to, for the Knicks and really for every other team, matchups. That's what playoffs is all about. And right now, I think the Spurs. I just keep saying this, but I think the Spurs are the cream of the crop of the NBA. But again, we'll keep breaking this down. We got about a month and a half before the playoffs. But it's if you're an NBA fan, you start to get excited about this point of the year. Like, all right, we made it through. October and November, December, which is football season, same as January. You made it through, the terrible All-Star weekend, all that stuff. But now it gets real, and it really gets exciting, I have to say, as a lifelong NBA fan. But mark your calendars. 107 The Bronx Excellent Egg Hunt is on its way. Join us on the Campus Mall on Tuesday, March 31st at 11 a.m. to experience the event the Bronx won Best Giveaway for at the 2025 IBS Media Awards. Don't forget, there are 10,000 eggs, 20,000 pieces of candy, and a chance to win so many cool prizes, including our biggest and most iconic prize, a 3 or 4 night Royal Caribbean cruise for 2 to the Bahamas, provided by Josh Harry Travel. For more details, including a list of all the activities and bites to eat, go to 1077thebronx.com/egg hunt. We'll be back with more high stakes after these underwriting announcements on the Princeton Review's 18th ranked best college radio station, 1077 The Bronx.
Okay, it looks like we've landed on what the Earthlings call a college campus.
WRRC ofrece recursos gratis y consejos de expertos para mantener su hogar libre de radón. Visite radon.nj.gov para obtener detalles sobre pruebas y soluciones para la mitigación del radón. Patrocinado por el Departamento de Protección Ambiental de Nueva Jersey.
107 The Bronx has very exciting news. Our new video streaming is officially live. Now you can listen to The Bronx on air, online, and on the app now to watch your favorite student shows live on the Bronx YouTube channel and Facebook at 1077 The Bronx, including Bronx After Hours, Tri-State Sports Rumble, High Stakes, The Journey Across the Sports World, Cliff Notes, and now Wake Up Rider. Keep it tuned into The Bronx to listen and to also watch your favorite student shows now and in the future. Welcome back to High Stakes on your 5-time National Association of Broadcasters Marconi Radio Award nominated station, 1077 The Bronx. All right, 9:33 on this great Saturday night. Weather is starting to warm up, which is really nice, even though it's supposed to get cold the next 3. I was looking at the forecast. It's going to be cold for the next 3, but then the next week, and this could all change, I get it, but the next week after like Tuesday, it's going to be like in the 50s. I saw like a couple 60-degree days, maybe the 70s. That's great. I mean, I got to say, after this winter has been, I remember, we're kind of getting off topic here, but hey, it's February 28th. Not much going on. But, I remember, back in the day, like when I was in like elementary school, we'd be having these like crazy winters. But, as I've gone into like high school, like, we would never have snow. Like in the weather would be pretty good in the winter. This year though, oh my, it's been terrible. It's honestly been insane how bad this weather has been. So, listen, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Keep bringing the good weather. Keep bringing the sunny days. The 50-degree days that turns into the 70-degree days that then turn into the 90-degree days. I don't care. This summer, I don't care if it's 90, 95 degrees, 100 degrees. It's better than it being 15 degrees after, 50 degrees last Monday after, 20 inches of snow hit the ground. So, I don't know. Listen, but it's good to see the weather start to warm up as we get into, as really not even that we're going to get to, 2.5 hours from now, it'll be March 1st. So, always good stuff to look forward to. And listen, when the weather starts to get better, that's the start of baseball season, the playoffs, like I said, and then we get into the summer. And then ultimately it's a football season. And this year we got the World Cup. I'm so excited for the World Cup. I was thinking tonight, like, man, maybe I should talk about some English Premier League soccer. But then I realized, like, I don't think anybody would care about that. But, I don't know. Maybe one of these weeks, as we get closer to the end of the Premier League and we get into the Champions League and all that, I might break down some Manchester United. I don't know. Manchester United against Chelsea in a couple weeks. Who knows? But anyway, this second segment of the show, I want to talk a little bit about some baseball, but not like I talked earlier about spring training. Again, like just to run down the news and all that stuff. You look at Benj. It's interesting. Spring training is I said the word worthless. It's not worthless because listen, for the Mets. And I'm a Met fan, so I usually talk about them more specifically. But for the Mets, hey, there are spots to win. Right now, Carson Benj is competing to maybe get that right fielder job. Mike Tauchman and MJ Melendez, the veterans, are competing to try to get that right fielder job as well. And there's the last spot in the bullpen is on the line. So, a lot of guys that are kind of on the edge of making the roster. These are big games for them. So I'm not saying that it's totally worthless. It's just from a viewing perspective, it is pretty worthless. Let's just call it what it is. And that kind of leads me into my next point with the World Baseball Classic. I've heard a lot, from a lot of people that, I hate the World Baseball Classic. It's just like, here's my take on it. I understand if you want to say, hey, baseball, World Baseball Classic, it's really not my thing. I'm just a Yankee fan. I'm just a Phillies fan. I don't really care about it. I'm not going to watch it. I'm going to do something else in early in early March. I get it. All right, it's not your thing. Fine. But for some people to have just so much like hatred and so much animosity about it, it's like, oh, I hate the World Baseball Classic. It's terrible. Oh, like they get so up in there. It's like, calm down. I understand it if you're looking at it from a hockey fan perspective. Even though the Olympics were great, and the Olympics is, I think, thousands of years old, so I get it, but I would understand if the same thing happened with the Four Nations tournament last year, which I enjoyed, but hey, I'm not really a hockey fan. I would understand an NHL fan being like, I don't really like these tournaments because it cuts into the regular season. I understand that. Like, listen, I do sports reports here, and I rely on, especially at this time, I rely on a lot of times hockey games. The Islanders, the Devils, the Rangers, the Philadelphia Flyers, those are sometimes 2 or 3 of my 5 stories I do. And the last couple of weeks, we haven't had that because, hey, they're doing the Olympics. So the NHL is pretty much on pause for the moment. I would understand an NHL fan being like, I don't really like it. Yeah, the men's national team, the hockey national team, that's cool to see, but that only happens, once or twice a week. I'm used to having all the games coming in 7 times a week, and now I don't have that, so I don't really like these tournaments. I understand that. What I don't understand from a baseball fan perspective is that all that the WBC is doing is replacing, I'm going to say it again, worthless spring training games. Like, it's not in the middle of July and it's taken away 3 weeks of games. That's not what's happening. It's not. It's taking away games that nobody really cares about unless you are the most, staunchest supporters, which is not a high percentage of people that actually watch the games. So unless you're, again, one of the staunchest supporters, you don't care about spring training games. So all that it's doing is taking away 2 or 3 weeks of games that you would not watch whatsoever. And games that, mind you, most of these games aren't even televised. The Mets put out or SNY did, a public release or document to the public saying that this year was the least amount of Met spring training games that they're airing on SNY. And the reason for that is that nobody cares. Nobody cares about these games. So, SNY's thinking about like, hey, I mean, why even bother try to broadcast these games? So now all that it's doing is giving the baseball fan something to watch in a period of time that there's really never anything to watch. And mind you, something kind of cool to watch. Like, who wouldn't want to see a game between the United States and the Dominican Republic? You wouldn't want to see Aaron Judge, Bryce Harper, Bobby Witt, Paul Skeens, all the great players on that team against, Julio Rodriguez, Juan Soto, Fernando Tatis, Manny Machado, just to name a few. Just to name a few of the great players that would be playing in that game. You wouldn't want to see that? Now, it's not something like, I took issue with it like a couple years ago when Ohtani struck out Trout. And people made it seem like, or they even said it out of their mouths that, this is one of the greatest moments of baseball history. I disagree with that. I will say that, like, if the United States lost last time to Japan, I didn't lose any sleep by it. If it was the Mets, I probably would lose some sleep because I'm a Met fan. I root for the United States, but I'm not going to lose any sleep by it. It's not something that like I'm living and dying by. But in a time, again, where baseball is, there's not much to watch. Yeah, that's kind of cool that you have Puerto Rico, even though we know they had some problems. Lindor's not playing because of Correa, same thing because of insurance issues. But you look at Venezuela, look at Japan last year, who won it all with Ohtani and Munetaka Murakami. I don't know if Yamamoto's pitching this time around, but again, there's so many great players playing in this tournament. I mean, honestly, again, I mean, if it's not your thing, it's not your thing. Fine, but I've just seen so much anger by it. And listen, I'll address the elephant in the room if you want to say that. Listen, I'm a Met fan. I lived through the Edwin Diaz tearing his ACL, celebrating, and I wouldn't say ruined our season. I mean, I heard a couple months ago, Buck Showalter, who was the manager at that time, say, "Oh, that ruined our season." I don't believe that. Hey, listen, you still had Justin Verlander, you still had Max Scherzer, you still had Alonso, Lindor, all these great players that. I know Verlander wasn't on the team in 2022, but most of the players that were on your team in 2023 were the same players that helped you win 101 games in 2022. I understand Diaz was a great pitcher that year, and that was a loss. But don't tell me. Listen, Edwin Diaz, I believe the Mets won 25 games in 2023 and won 101 games in 2022. Edwin Diaz, no matter how great he is not a player that is a 25 win value. Like, it's just not like it's not like, oh, if we had Edwin Diaz, yeah, we would have won a couple more games, but it's not like we would have won 95 games because we had Edwin Diaz. No, that's a loss. But the players that were on that team in 2023 were the reason why they didn't make the playoffs. But that's kind of going off to a separate argument. Going back to the WBC, listen, I'm a Met fan. I get it. When Diaz got injured, he was out the whole season. That sucked. We get it. But again, like, let's be honest, he got hurt celebrating. I mean, like, he could have. I mean, like, it's not like he got hurt, playing. He didn't really get hurt playing. He got hurt celebrating. You could do that at any part of your life. And my whole thing is like this with the whole injuries thing. Listen, I understand, and if you're a team, like if Aaron Judge, God forbid, breaks his hand. I mean, I understand Yankee fans being like, oh, geez, like, I get it. But what I would say is, hey, you can still get hurt in the spring training game. Like, pitchers are different. I understand, Scooble has said, oh, I'm only going to pitch one game. I would understand some teams, like if, Paul Skeens for the Pirates or, Edwin Diaz for the Dodgers. I would understand fans of the teams they play on being like, I don't want them to pitch too much because it could wear out their arm. I get that to a certain level. But for position players, like for Bobby Witt Jr., I mean, like, okay, he's playing in the World Baseball Classic. He would be playing in the spring training if not for the WBC. He could get hurt there. So again, I'm not saying that like I'm this huge fan of the WBC, but what I will say is that it gives us something to watch. Usually it's in early March. We haven't hit the NCAA tournament yet. The NBA season continues to drag on. Same thing as the hockey. No football. There's not much to watch at that time. Hey, this just gives us something that, baseball fans, but even sport fans, can rally behind. I mean, listen, I'll say this, like, there's not a single thing, like, the MLB is great, NBA, NHL, NFL, all that stuff, and you go overseas and all those great leagues, I get it. But the premier league, the premier spotlight that each sport has is their national tournament. For soccer, it's the World Cup. I mean, listen, the Champions League is big. The EPL is big. La Liga is big. But it's not the World Cup. For hockey, the Stanley Cup is great, but it's not the Olympics. For baseball, maybe the World Baseball Classic hasn't hit that just yet, but it's gaining a lot of traction. It really is. And again, for a lot of players, they have a lot of pride for this. I mean, they're playing for their countries. I get it. So again, like, if it's not your thing, it's not your thing. I get it. But you're just, you lose me when you have so much animosity by it. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, yes, will a couple players probably get hurt and miss some time? Probably. But guess what? In spring training, it's the same thing that happens. I mean, Francisco Alvarez last year for the Mets, I believe something happened with his thumb, and he was out for the first month of the season. Same thing with Jeff McNeil. Same thing with Sean Manaea. I'm just taking that from a Met perspective, not talking about all the 29 other teams that had injuries in spring training. So let's not make it seem like if a couple players goes down to the WBC, like that would not have happened in spring training. So again, like, just people just gotta relax, man. They just gotta relax. It's not your thing, fine. Fine. But again, like, it's not that big of a deal. It's just not. I don't know. I just, some people, I scratch my head sometimes. It's like, it's not, it's like, for you to be so angry by it, it just, I don't even know. I really don't know. And if anything, I should be one of the people that should hate the WBC the most. I lost Edwin Diaz for a whole season, paying him $20 million that year to not play. But I understand, hey, listen, that might have still happened in spring training. And it just is what it is. Hey, injuries happen. It just, you could get injured. I mean, listen, a player could get injured, driving their car in a car accident, God forbid. I mean, at some point, you got to live your life. I mean, it's not like we're going to, have these athletes, driving armored vehicles and only I mean, at the end of the day, there's a risk that comes along with anything. And, sometimes it works out badly, but it's not at all. It doesn't happen. Like, these injuries don't happen all that much where it's like, oh, we have to cancel. It's just a lot of people that just have nothing better to do. And it's like, honestly, I don't even know what to say. It's just like, I really just said everything. It's just, some people, they just gotta just relax. Just relax. I don't know. But I'm excited for it. I really am. Hey, gives us something to watch. Excited to see USA. I mean, hey, there's a lot of great players for the United States. They're trying to win it after losing to Japan last year. Same thing in the Dominican Republic, Mexico, and Venezuela. All these teams, Japan. So hey, we'll see what happens. But I just had to say that because I was here, and it's really not just been the last couple of weeks, really for years now. And I don't get it. I really don't. I don't know. If you build it, our Rider Bronx will devour it. Introducing the contest that will cement your legacy at Rider University forever. Introducing 1077 The Bronx first ever Build the Ultimate Bronc Witch competition. Be the Bronc who creates Rider's new signature sandwich to be served at Muller's Pub and on the You-Cuz Yellow Food Trailer, and we'll send you and a guest on a cruise for Royal Caribbean for 2 to the Bahamas from Josh Harry Travel. However you slice it, this contest eats Bronx. However you slice it, this contest eats Bronx. Go to 1077thebronx.com/build-a-bronc for complete details and how you can enter to win. We'll be back with more high stakes after these underwriting announcements under 3-time 2026 IBS Media Award winner 1077 The Bronx.
Wake Up Rider on 1077 The Bronx needs you to tell mother, father, whoever to tune in. Be good to yourself and make sure you're listening to Wake Up Rider at approximately 8:05.
corporate event or public gathering. Suppress your authentic Italian food cravings. View their online menu, express interest in catering, and to order online, it's DiLorenzosDeBurg.com or by phone at 215-943-2605.
There is so much happening this spring at 107.7 The Bronx, which means there's a lot of behind-the-scenes content to be seen. Funny reels, station highlights, sponsor trips, and exclusive moments are just a few of the reasons why you should engage with The Bronx on social media. Keep up with The Bronx. Follow us on Instagram and Threads at 1077 The Bronx, and TikTok at 1077 The Bronx WRRC, and even on Facebook at 1077 The Bronx to see what we're up to on and off the air. Welcome back to High Stakes on your 5-time NAB Marconi Awards nominated college radio station, 1077 The Bronx. All right, we got about 2.5 minutes to close out the show here. I was thinking about maybe doing some immaculate grid on the screen here now that we have cameras, but we'll save that for maybe next week. You know, I want to get all the technology all figured out before I do that. I mean, obviously, earlier tonight had a little bit of some issues, but we got that resolved, and at least the sound is working this time. That's good, unlike what happened last time. But anyway, listen. With March coming up, we got NCAA tournament coming up, which I'm a huge fan of. UConn, from Connecticut, so I'll always be rooting for UConn, men's and women's. And right now, I think the women's, I think they're like 30-0 or something like that. I think they will probably win the championship. I mean, I know it's kind of easy just to say that, but they're really the cream of the crop. I mean, they won it last year after really a little bit of some years that they didn't win. I mean, I think, last time they won it was 2016 before last year. So they went through a little bit of a drought, but winning it last year and right now being easily ranked number 1 in the country, I think they're definitely poised to cut down the nets again. And then for the men, I mean, listen, had a nice win against Seton Hall tonight, or not tonight, this afternoon, and then they destroyed St. John's. After St. John's beat them at the Garden a couple weeks ago, they come up to Storrs, Connecticut, and they just get destroyed. I mean, I think that St. John's did not score a bucket in the last 19 minutes of the game, which is unfathomable. I mean, that's insane to think about. I mean, as the Huskies, I think, won 72-40. Right now, I mean, I think they're ranked 6th in the country. Will probably move up after that performance against St. John's in the next AP poll. But again, I mean, listen, they're a team that they're a championship experience, the coaching staff, and also with Alex Caravan. That's a team that nobody is going to have. Nobody wants to see them in March Madness. Even though I do think Arizona's really good, and I think they're right now my favorite to win the national championship in March. But we'll get more into that. Thank you for listening to High Stakes. We'll be back next Saturday, 9 to 10 p.m. Stay tuned for more of the biggest hits and best variety on the Princeton Review's 18th ranked best college radio station, 3-time 2026 IBS Media Award winner, and 5-time NAB Marconi Radio Award nominee for College Radio Station of the Year, 1077 The Bronx and 1077thebronx.com.
1077 The Bronx, WRRC-FM, Lawrenceville, New Jersey. If there's one thing synonymous with the spring semester at Rider